And welcome back to the lounge. Today is Saturday, June 2nd, and we have Alex Olio from Artigiano here in the Gables with us today. How are you doing, man?
Not too bad. And yourself?
Good.
Awesome.
Always nice coming into the Gables, someplace you've never been, and just finding like a treasure. You know what I mean? Hidden away here in the buildings here in the Gables. They're located here in Merrick Park.
Right outside the village of Merrick Park, yeah.
Right outside the village of Merrick Park. So tell us, Alex, how'd you come up with this idea? When did this start? You know, how did you get into this industry?
Well, this was basically, I got into the industry right out of high school in New York City. It's been my passion since I was a kid. I always loved clothing and fashion, so it was kind of easy right from the get-go in New York. But this was basically the brainchild of one of my partners who had started a wholesale distribution of Italian clothing. And he had already had his own store back in the day, and then he decided to do the wholesale end of it. And this was kind of an afterthought. They were doing the distribution and said, listen, we have this little spot. And I was working across the street at the village of Merrick Park. And they said, why don't you come on board with us? And the rest, as they say, is history. Started as a minority partner, worked my way up. And we just continued to grow the business. And we now have a nice following here in the Gables.
What aspect is it that you run here in the store?
I'm the managing partner. I'm the one that oversees everything from sales to day-to-day activities, and
operations
and everything else.
True. So, did you know when you were a kid, like, I want to go into fashion, making custom men's clothing, tailoring, stuff like that?
Well, early on, I didn't know what I wanted to do. At first, I thought I wanted to be an attorney. That was always my other big passion. But I worked a stint in one of the summers in New York. I went to the Bronx Criminal Court, and I worked as a subpoena clerk. And after spending the summer there, I said, you know what? This is kind of boring being stuck inside all day here. And it's just fashion was just calling out to me. So after that, it was just easy. I got into my first job was in clothing, and I kept
here in Miami or back in New York?
In New York. And I started selling suits back when the designers were actually starting.
How old was it? Oh, were you at that point? 18 at that point.
Yeah.
True.
So after that, I was here in a small store in South Miami that eventually wound up growing into a much bigger store, which had a large following. It was a men's shoe store, and that store provided me the opportunity to create a following and many friends that follow us.
Create the network over there.
Absolutely, and support us to this day.
True. So tell me, when did Artigiano's officially become a
store?
Yeah,
we opened up in January of 2003.
Oh, wow. So it's been like 15 years.
Going on 16.
Here, same location here?
Yeah, the wholesale had already been established earlier on in 2002, right? At the same time that the mall was about to open, at the same time that...
Which mall? Oh, a Village?
Yeah,
wow.
At the same time. So basically it opened up at the same time, and then little by little we started, and we recently expanded and just remodeled and so forth. But
tell me a little bit about the history. What happened when you guys first opened? Any trouble that you guys faced while you guys opened like
multiple.
that?
At first, it was the typical problems, cash flow and,
of course,
and credit.
New business always.
And that was always the toughest part. But then later on, we started taking off, and as we started to boom, we put all our eggs into the one basket, as they say, hoping that with the economy going, it was booming.
Which aspect did you put all the eggs into the basket?
Well, just we went high end. We were going chasing our market and our niche, and we kept them reinvesting and putting all our money into that. And all of a sudden, the market just bottomed out with the real estate.
In 08, yeah.
Oh, that was deadly, because now we were hanging a lot of clothes and no customers to come in to buy. So
of course,
it was actually a good learning experience, because we survived that. I think we could survive just about anything.
Yeah, right. How was it that you were able to surpass that?
Well, basically at that point, we stopped buying and called all of our merchants and said, listen, if you like, we'll send stuff back, because we know we started having credit at that point. And then when we called most, and I think 99% of them said, don't worry about it, because we weren't the only ones obviously in that situation. What were they going to do with the goods at that point?
Yeah, right.
And then little by little, we just we paid everybody a little bit back, and we eventually paid everybody. And there was one guy that didn't want to be cooperative, said, no, we need back. So we just paid him right away. And after that, we've never done business with them again. And we continue to do business with everybody else, though.
True. At what point are you able to say was the turning point from that fiasco that happened?
It's hard to pinpoint exactly.
Yeah, but around what year did you realize?
I would say in 2011, 2012, you could start to see the light again at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, right.
It was starting to turn around, and unfortunately, we saw a lot of good people that lost their businesses and weren't able to survive. And then we also changed our dynamic as far as our customer base. from the standpoint that we're much younger minded, as if you will. That
Yeah, definitely.
we're looking at a very contemporary. We're classic, but very contemporary at the same time. Very fashion forward, very European, very Italian. So you'll see a lot of flavor, and we have all, we specialize in custom clothing since day one. We've been doing this for a long time because now everybody's starting to get into
Yeah,
that
everyone's doing
Yeah,
custom.
but we've been doing that forever since day one.
So you have it
And-
all honed down to
well, we also have a manufacturer. My business partner owns a factory,
Mm.
so we're able to manufacture for our own goods, and he manufactures for others as well.
the custom
Besi-
clothing you're
besi-
talking.
yes, besides all the major manufacturers that we work with the finest out of Italy.
Hmm.
But
Oh, the factories are also in Italy.
oh no, yeah, for sure.
Oh,
We
wow,
have- we have
yeah.
my shirts, suits, everything, pants. I would say 90% of our clothes is Italian.
Do you travel at any time over to Italy?
Absolutely, I'm getting ready to leave in a couple of weeks. We go at least 2 to 3 times a year.
Which part?
Mostly Florence for the trade show, and then we
Florence.
work a lot out of Naples because most of our vendors are based out of Naples.
Mm.
But
Is that
we
where
al-
the factories are in Naples?
A lot of the handmade clothing
Mhm.
is based out of there. But we also do a lot of the showrooms in Milan because Fashion Week, like
Yeah,
in
of
New
course.
York,
Isn't
and
it coming
Milan,
up, actually?
It's coming up as well.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, I know Miami just had the Fashion Week, I think, this
Correct.
week,
Well,
right?
there's different ones. There's swimwear and women's and
True.
kids. They're
Very
different
true.
type. But yes,
Yeah.
it's just passed recently.
So you're very deep into the realm of fashion, from what I can see.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's-
you have to be.
it's-
Yeah,
I eat, sleep, and drink that. I always tell people when they start talking, I say, listen, I don't know anything about but fashion and clothes. I know.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
So what would you say is like your favorite part about being in this industry? Like you're
Dealing with people, making people happy, because I
I get
enjoy.
that. Yeah.
I love when people send me a text of them in an occasion that we've prepared for and set them up for, and then all of a sudden they're there in the moment and they just feel amazing and it's
Yeah.
all perfect.
Everyone's
and
like, oh, nice suit,
that's-
nice shirt,
that's-
nice
That's
shoes.
what it's all
Yeah.
about. That's what it's all about.
Definitely. So we've talked about like the history, how we got to this point. Anything new that you're thinking about for the future? Like, what's the future look like for Artigianos?
Well, we've thought about branching out and opening up other stores. But my feeling's always been, and my business partner and I always talk about that, about trying to make sure that this is perfect.
Mhm.
And it's hard to make anything perfect
course.
because there's always change. And the fashion's always evolving and changing. And the more things change, the more they stay the same. Because now we're starting to see a trend going back to pleats, where pleats have been
Pleats?
out.
What's that?
Pleated pants. Pleats.
I have no idea what that is.
Well, I can show you a pair of pleated
Yeah.
pants. So, but that just goes to show you're young enough where you haven't seen the circle coming back around.
Yeah.
Where before everybody was just doing plain front pants where had no pleats in the front, and now they're
Pleats
going-
is what?
It's a little pleating that you see on the pant. If anyone I can find a pair of pants that have
It's
it,
all good. It's all good.
just to show
Yeah.
you. But it's interesting how now things went from being big in the 80s and 90s. We
Mhm.
had the big shoulders,
The shoulder
and
pads,
broad
yeah, I've seen
shoulders,
that,
and
yeah.
now it's all natural, no shoulder pads, and it's
Mhm.
unconstructed, and more form fitting, and a lot
Yeah.
more tailored versus boxy or fuller.
Mhm. Definitely,
But
I could
every-
see that coming back. Yeah.
But everything goes around. It's just funny. Eventually, it'll come back around.
Yeah.
So it keeps it fun. It keeps it interesting.
What do you think the future looks like in fashion in general?
Well, that you watch Star Trek movies and things of that nature. You always wonder would it ever get to that point, but I hope not, because that would be a very boring world. if
Yeah, it is.
everybody
It is
dressed
very
in-
boring.
you know,
Very
so-
like corporate. Like very
And one
very
thing
structured.
and in this world, what you see is, especially I deal with a lot of attorneys and financial advisors and a lot of business people, that they need to dress up. So they need to. Each one has their own personal style.
Of course, you
And
want to be
some-
unique.
And
Yeah.
some like some defense attorneys, when they go to defend a client, or they're ones that are litigating to get a big case, when they're asking for money, they don't want to look like that slick, fast guy. They always want to look under the radar
Mhm.
type, very, very subdued. And then all of a sudden, you've got the guy meeting a client, and he wants to look like
Yeah.
he's a peacock. He's got
Exactly,
every
I was
little
about to say,
detail,
yeah.
So it's interesting how you see the whole spectrum.
Yeah,
from,
yeah,
from
right.
very casual, very under the radar, to the guy that's out there, flashy and making sure everybody knows he's successful.
True. So like, well, you're in the industry. What's like your favorite style of fashion? Like, what?
Well, the Neapolitan style of the different schools of tailoring, especially the Italian, because it's very. They say it's like your second skin. Your shirt, everything. They have a lot of the handwork.
Is that like the form fitting?
It's very form. Everything's natural. You really don't. If you notice, a lot of guys, when they're going to get in their car, they take off their jacket to make sure. No, the Neapolitans, for the most part, they wear their clothes. They want it to be. They don't want to take it off. It should feel like natural when they have
Of course.
it. And my analogy, I always tell my customers, it should feel like armor. When you're going out there to war, your clothing is your armor, and you should feel very comfortable in it. You should
That's a
not-
good.
You
That's
should
a
have
good
no
quote.
kinks in your.
Yeah, a good quote. Well, Alex, it's been a pleasure. Any last words you want to tell the audience before we wrap this up?
Well, no, just hopefully that at some point everybody has an opportunity to stop by and say hello, and we'll be happy to show them around and make them one of our world famous coffees.
Cool, world famous. Oh man, I got to try that.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much, Alex. If
My
you want to
pleasure.
see more of what Artigiano's up to, you can follow them on Instagram at
Yes, Artigiano Miami.
Artigiano Miami, and you can follow us at Gable Cigars on Instagram and at the lounge.media. That's a new account I made for the podcast and YouTube. So thank you guys so much for staying tuned. I'll catch you guys on Monday for Coffee and Cigars number 6.